Now let's get into Tulsi Gabbard, who drops a bombshell exposing the politically motivated weaponization that happened under the Democrats.
Here are just a few other examples. The American people elected Donald Trump as their president not once but twice, and yet the FBI and intelligence agencies were politicized by his opponents to undermine his presidency and falsely portray him as a puppet of Putin. Title I of FISA was used illegally to obtain a warrant to spy on Trump campaign advisor Carter Page, using a Clinton campaign-funded false dossier as their so-called evidence. Biden campaign advisor Tony Blinken was the impetus for the 51 former senior intelligence officials' letter dismissing Hunter Biden's laptop as disinformation specifically to help Biden win the election. Former DNI James Clapper lied to this committee in 2013, denying the existence of programs that facilitated the mass collection of millions of Americans' phone and internet records, yet was never held accountable. Under John Brennan's leadership, the CIA abused its power to spy on Congress, to dodge oversight, lied about doing it until he was caught, and yet has never been held responsible. Under Biden, the FBI abused its power for political reasons to try to surveil Catholics who attend traditional Latin Mass, labeling them as quote-unquote radical traditionalist Catholics.
Again, they fear Trump's appointees so much because they are coming in to clean up this mess. And because the Democrats are the culprits who initiated this kind of behavior, it's going to be tons of Democrats who are on the chopping block. So every Democrat is now trying to save their own skin. You should be very skeptical against people who are against cleaning up corruption. It typically means that they're the ones involved in it. And that's why the Democrat Party's approval rating just hit a historic low, while the GOP approval rating hit a historic high. That's why a majority of Americans are excited and optimistic about Trump's presidency. People appreciate that Trump's appointees aren't these traditional establishment picks that have all these special interest relationships and are ingratiated in the swampy behavior of Washington. That's why Democrats oppose DOGE so much, because their long-running scheme of robbing the American taxpayer and funneling the money back to themselves is over. Now, the last clip I'm going to show you is Tulsi Gabbard exposing that the United States government under Obama funded Al-Qaeda, our sworn enemies, in an attempt to overthrow the Syrian government.
When, as a member of Congress, I learned about President Obama's dual programs that he had begun really to overthrow the regime of Syria, and being willing to, through the CIA's Timber Sycamore program that has now been made public, of working with and arming and equipping Al-Qaeda in an effort to overthrow that regime, starting yet another regime change war in the Middle East. DoD train and equip program, again, begun under President Obama, is widely been known, looked at, and studied, that ultimately resulted in over $500 million being used to train who they called moderate rebels, but were actually fighters working with and aligned with Al-Qaeda's affiliate on the ground in Syria, all to move forward with their regime change and not acknowledging what was obvious at the time and what has unfortunately borne true, which was that a regime change war in Syria, much like the regime change wars in Iraq, the toppling of Gaddafi and Mubarak, while these are all dictators, would likely result in the rise of Islamist extremists like Al-Qaeda taking power.
So that basically summarizes what the entire Democrat strategy has been throughout all of these confirmation hearings. Let's disregard how inept, how incompetent, how much of a failure the last 4 years were, but let's just try to hone in on why this person is unqualified simply because they're aligned to Donald Trump. They complain that these appointments aren't the traditional establishment picks and fail to understand the mandate of the American people. We voted for massive reform to the way government operates so that it actually operates in the interests of the American people. We're tired of a government that puts the interests of the American people last and then was actively weaponized to try to silence and jail the one person who was trying to make that happen for us. But let me know what you guys think down in the comments section below. Whose mic drop moment did you like the best out of those three? If you enjoyed the video, make sure you hit that like button. Make sure you subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Turn on those notification bells so you never miss a video. And I will see you guys in the next one. And thank you for 100K subs.